I stood on the weathered dock, the evening sun casting golden ripples across the lake that had been my family's sanctuary for decades. Across the water, wealthy investors in tailored suits clinked champagne glasses, oblivious that the glittering resort they celebrated stood on land I legally owned. The Homeowners Association, led by the ruthless Catherine Hargrove, thought they'd outsmarted me. They were wrong. In less than a day, I'd turned their dream into my billion-dollar victory. The glass-fronted lodge gleamed at the water's edge, surrounded by manicured gardens and a fleet of sleek rental boats. The HOA had transformed my quiet retreat into a luxury paradise, believing they could claim it through clever permits and intimidation. Catherine, the HOA president, strutted through the crowd, boasting to investors about expansion plans and revenue streams. She didn't know I was watching, blending into the scene with a wide-brimmed hat, gathering the final pieces of my plan. 5 years ago, I inherited this pristine lake from my grandfather, Henry. He'd bought it in the 1960s, long before the valley became a haven for the ultra-rich. The lake, fed by crystal-clear springs, was a gem, and Henry's records showed we owned not just a modest cabin on the North Shore, but the entire lake and a 100-foot strip of shoreline around it. To me, it was more than property. It was a refuge from my chaotic city life, a place where I could still hear Henry's laughter from our summer fishing trips. Henry had been meticulous, hiring surveyors in the 19... Some things are beyond price, he'd say, gazing at the sunset. His journals, found after his death, detailed his battles with developers, and the HOA that formed his mansions sprouted on the ridgeline. His final entry, written months before he passed, warned of their aggression and his efforts to protect the lake with environmental laws. "Sarah will face their pressure," he wrote. "I've done what I can. The rest is hers." The Ridgeline Heights HOA was a powerhouse, charging fees that dwarfed most mortgages. They sent letters calling my cabin an eyesore and my natural shoreline unkempt, claiming it hurt their property values. I ignored them, cherishing the cattails and water lilies over their sterile lawns. Their brochures flaunted lakefront views, conveniently omitting that the lake wasn't theirs. Their 100-page rulebook dictated everything from paint colors to garden heights, enforced by retirees in golf carts who issued fines for minor infractions. My first run-in with the HOA came during a 4th of July barbecue. 3 board members, led by smug Edward Langley, marched onto my property, citing excessive noise violations. When I pointed out my land wasn't under their control, Edward smirked. "We all share this valley, Sarah. Your actions affect our residents." I burned their rulebook in my fire pit and partied into the night. Trouble escalated during a drought, when the HOA, under Catherine's leadership, eyed my lake as their water source. A neighbor, Olivia Grant, a retired environmental lawyer, leaked their meeting minutes. Catherine, a former CEO, had hired attorneys to exploit zoning loopholes, calling it community resource reclamation. Olivia warned me, "They've planned this for years, Sarah. They're using a century-old statute to claim necessity." The minutes revealed their chilling strategy, assessing my finances, job, and family for leverage, even considering condemning my cabin if I resisted. Soon, bulldozers roared at the lake's southern edge. Catherine brushed me off, claiming county-approved community amenities. At the county office, a clerk revealed expedited permits stamped with high-level signatures, labeled as a community resilience initiative. The blueprints showed docks, a clubhouse, and gardens, not infrastructure. The HOA had bypassed landowner consent by classifying their project as an extension of community property. When I tried to appeal, I was told the window had closed, notices buried in newspaper classifieds. "Get a property rights lawyer," the clerk whispered, glancing at a photo of Catherine at a county ribbon cutting. 3 attorneys confirmed the HOA's deep pockets and connections made fighting them tough. But James Carter, a seasoned property rights lawyer, spotted a flaw. While the HOA had permits to build, they hadn't secured ownership of my land. "It's like building on someone else's foundation," he said. "The structures are theirs, but the land is yours." He proposed letting them build, documenting every step, then reclaiming the improved property later. It was risky but could yield millions. They've overlooked basic property law, James explained, citing Henry's deed and 19th century water rights. Let them invest, Sarah. Every dollar they spend increases your asset. For 2 years, I watched in silent fury as they turned my lake into a resort. A $3 million boathouse with exotic hardwoods rose first, followed by a 3-story lodge with stone fireplaces and a gourmet restaurant. They added a white sand beach, lit trails, and a marina. I documented everything: drone footage, photos, GPS coordinates, and contracts from public records. The HOA spent over $20 million, funded by doubled member fees. Catherine told her board, "We'll acquire this lake for pennies once we establish usage rights." They were wrong. Their intimidation grew personal. Anonymous complaints hit my workplace, hinting at external distractions. My boss, uneasy, noted Catherine's ties to our biggest client. Deliveries to my cabin vanished, service providers refused jobs, and my internet was tampered with. Potential partners were scared off by concerned neighbors. Olivia faced similar harassment: fines for her garden, paint violations, and silenced microphones at meetings. She emailed me, "They're watching, but I'm still documenting. I'll stand with you." Her files included recordings of the board plotting to neutralize me. I played the long game, feigning surrender. I stopped confronting crews, painted my cabin to HOA standards, and allowed temporary access for construction, always reserving my rights in writing. Behind the scenes, I hired a forensic accountant to expose the HOA's mismanagement, revealing funds diverted from community maintenance to the lake project and shady vendor deals. I networked with real estate experts, learning luxury resort valuations without revealing my plan. Each morning, I sat on my dock, noting every extravagant addition: marble bathrooms, custom doors, underwater lights, knowing they were building my fortune. After 3 years, the Peninsula Resort and Spa opened with a gala attended by celebrities and politicians. Catherine called it natural beauty meets ingenuity, ignoring my ownership. A week later, I listed the lake and all improvements for $3 billion through a luxury broker. The Wall Street Journal called it an untapped opportunity. Offers poured in, and the HOA panicked. Catherine stormed my cabin with attorneys, waiving the listing. "You can't sell community property," she fumed. I showed them my deed and a legal opinion confirming my ownership. "You build on my land," I said calmly. "That's your mistake." Their injunctions and adverse possession claims failed. Thane records, detailing $30 million in improvements, boosted my property's value. Ridgeline residents sold on lake access faced losing it. Property values tanked, and the board faced lawsuits. 3 hotel chains and a tech billionaire toured the resort. Global Resorts International offered $4.2 billion, planning to restrict access to paying guests, cutting off Ridgeline entirely. At a tense HOA meeting, Catherine offered $1 billion to keep the resort community-owned. I took the microphone. "This happened because you built on my land, despite my warnings. You excluded me, removed me from meetings, and ignored my rights. I've accepted Global's bid." The room erupted: shouts, demands for Catherine's resignation, threats of lawsuits. An elderly resident summed it up: "They built a castle on our land and are shocked she's keeping it." The sale closed at $4.2 billion. Global erected private property signs barring Ridgeline residents. Their property values crashed 60%, and the board resigned. Catherine fled, her mansion unsold. Global added a 5-star hotel, golf course, and helipad, hosting elites while charging residents for maintenance they couldn't use. I bought a quiet oceanfront home, far from HOAs, and funded conservation trusts to protect wildlands. Ridgeline never recovered, its once proud community fractured. The HOA's arrogance, believing wealth trumped rights, led to their ruin. They built a paradise on my land, assuming I'd fold. Instead, I waited, letting their greed fuel my victory. Justice came not through confrontation, but patience, turning their dream into my legacy. What do you think, readers? Was my strategy fair? Or should I have fought sooner? How do you view the HOA's actions, greedy or misguided? Share your thoughts below, especially on themes of power, injustice, and standing up to bullies. Let's debate.